Welcome to the Invar Technologies Podcast, a podcast where we interview top-level executives inside leading and growing companies in the food and beverage space. We're excited to have our guest today, John Aron. We'll be diving into his story, a little bit about his company, the Pasta Shoppe, what they do, and some engaging insights into the industry as well. So make sure to stick around. I'll go ahead and just kick it off to you, John. If you could just introduce yourself and tell a quick snippet of your story and your background prior to working at the Pasta Shoppe.
Sure. John Aron, company's the Pasta Shoppe. It's a company my wife and I started back in 1993. The whole idea was, how can we bring artisanal Italian style pasta equipment to Nashville, Tennessee, and figure out how to make it appealing in a way that's different than the Italians present pasta. And so that has been a 30-year process of fun and business building and looking at challenges and figuring out how to get over the divide. And it's been fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I know that we've gone back and forth off camera. You know, me being Italian and you obviously having a pasta company resonates very, very well with me, right? And you, I've even gotten to taste a little bit of the product, and we'll get into that at some point. But I wanted to ask you, you know, John, what was it about, you know, the food world and in your specific case, the pasta world, where you wanted to go and create a company around and really just build a career around?
Yeah, so my wife and I met in the printing business in New York City. We learned a lot about manufacturing in those years, and both families, soon after being married, it was very clear everyone was food lovers. And so we had a New York City influence. Carrie's family was from Nashville. And as we looked at those times, and, you know, whatever business you're in, you're always wondering what's coming next. And I said to Carrie, I'm not crazy about what I'm seeing about print. And I made that call too early. Friends of ours continued to kill it for 5 or 6 more years. But man, when Oprah Winfrey started giving away Kindles, the print business started to nosedive. And so along the way, we were ready to go and take this endeavor and thought, if we were going to do specialty food, doing it Italian style was our closest sense of where the direction we ought to go.
Definitely, definitely. You know, obviously you've been in the industry for a while, and you know, you've done a good job. Obviously, in this scenario, you've done a good job of spotting some trends and capitalizing on them, right?
That's right.
What type of trends are you noticing right now in the food and manufacturing market that you're really aware of, and maybe you can even allude to why you're positioning your company in a certain way and what you guys are doing?
So today, if you sit down with any investor for any reason in the food space, if you're not talking about how to make a healthier version, you're really not having a conversation. This is now all about getting on board with, what can we do to take something that's beloved and innovate it for the betterment of your health. And so when we looked at it, we said the problem we see is traditional pasta has too many carbs and not enough health benefits. And gluten-free pasta has lost the taste and texture advantage. How can we look at this and say, how will we innovate? What is important to keep and what is important to jettison?
Definitely, definitely. And I love that you capitalize on that trend. It's definitely something that I'm seeing, talking with different food manufacturers and talking with, you know, people within the industry. We're going towards that route of how can we be a healthier society, right? And in essence, the companies have to take that into account when they are building out their products, right? And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about some of the main products that you guys are offering at the Pasta Shoppe?
Yeah, so let me start by saying how challenging this has been. So, you know, when it comes to competing with Italy, you really have to understand the opportunities, and it's so hard to find them. We tried for many times to go to market with certain things that we thought we could capture value with, and we honestly couldn't. And our core business carried us through that time. But we have a unique manufacturing capability. It is artisanal Italian style pasta. And when you do what we call cool extrusion, not high temperature extrusion, and cool drying, the four attributes of pasta get preserved best, which is the aroma of the wheat, the taste, the texture, and the bite. And that's what artisanal pasta lets you do. What we started to do is think really hard about the problems. How do we get carbs reduced? How do we keep taste? How do we play around with things? And honestly, the companies that have big protein and fiber businesses in other grain categories like cereals and breads, who are further along in modernizing their products for the health-minded consumer, they came to us and they said, we are willing to help you because we're not making headway in the pasta world. You look like you know how to get to market and can be adaptive. And sure enough, we started putting our heads together with their food scientists and saying, okay, here's what we think we need to do. Wouldn't it be great to serve active lifestyle people who want more protein in their diet? And since they're doing all that working out, what could we do to also reduce the carbs? And so we went at it. And the thing that people don't know is how many iterations it takes to get close is 20. To get it right is 60 or 80.
Yeah.
Because the proportions and the way the ingredients come together, it's so challenging to get it right. And in the end, if you think about the way we wanted Pastabilities to do two things. We wanted it to be healthier than regular pasta, and we wanted it to be tastier than gluten-free pasta. And we wanted those things to be in one bowl. We wanted health and taste in one bowl. And that's what we worked for.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and just so the audience does know, I have tried some of the pasta, and I must say, it is definitely one of the best pastas that I've tried. That is in terms of wheat pasta. I've tried a lot of, and being Italian, we eat a lot of pasta. And I've told this to John prior. I said, John, I eat a lot of pasta. I'm gonna tell you the honest truth behind what I think about the pasta that you send me. And he was so kind to send me some, and we did some garlic and oil. We did a little bit of some vegetables in there, and man, I kid you not, it tastes exactly just like regular pasta. You wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. And even to John's point, when he was asking me, how did you feel afterwards? I could tell that I felt less bloated than I normally do when I do have a lot of pasta, because I eat a lot, right? Whenever I have pasta, I'm always indulging. And so, man, I can be firsthand, experience to tell you that this stuff really does have both that unique taste, right? Where the taste where you wouldn't even be able to tell that it's not, that's the healthier version of pasta, and then also the way you feel afterwards as well, right? And so I love that you guys encompass that both into your mission and your values as a company, and it's definitely something that does shine through with a product, right? And I think that's so important is, what type of product are you bringing forth, and in your case, it's definitely a quality one. I wanted maybe you to dive into a little bit about, what you think the unique value is, with Pastabilities, right? In essence, because you have other whole wheat pasta and you have other gluten-free pasta. What would you say that real unique value that Pastabilities brings to the consumers?
So, to be in the food business today and to think about health, you've got to solve a problem, which means you better identify a problem. And so the way we looked at it was we weren't just innovating for anybody. We were innovating for people who wanted to be able to enjoy pasta. And being our age in our 50s, we're looking at the world and we know we used to eat pasta like crazy, and now it's a splurge. And so the way we looked at the business problem solving is, aside from the recipe, is first of all, who are the groups that are underserved by pasta today? So we mentioned active lifestyles, but what if you're watching your calories and your carbs and you want something different? Or what if you're worried about gut health and you're thinking about fiber and know that good gut health contributes to good mental health? And so when we looked at the data, what we saw was that basically 40% of America, per the CDC, is on some form of a diet or a health kick in what they're eating at any one time. Well, you do the math on 330 million, it's 132 million is 40% of America. And then we said, well, let's go and serve the biggest first, and let's make each of those groups a custom recipe where we choose our proteins wisely, we add in the fibers, and we produce nutrition facts that are different. And remember, in the backdrop of all of this, the whole world starts eating more and more gluten-free pasta. And so the thing about gluten-free is they're producing it with one bean type typically. So it's black bean pasta, or it's edamame, or it's chickpea, whatever the bean is. The problem is with those recipes, they don't have the wheat to make the taste and texture, and they're not doing enough to blend other beans into the equation so that the beans are a little bit more neutral. When you're eating pasta, my goal is not to have chickpea taste. My goal is to have good pasta that's good for me. And we started to understand that it was in the middle ground. If you think about it, traditional pasta is all wheat and gluten-free is zero wheat. How about if we work in the middle of that equation? Let's have wheat and let's have protein and fiber, and then let's do it in ways where we satisfy these groups that we think are underserved by today's pasta world. And that's where the business starts to make some sense. Do you have 132 million people who are simply eating pasta less or not at all? And unfortunately, since Atkins' diet of 1998, we know 36% less pasta sales than 25 years ago.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's what happens when you don't think about who is your customer and are they being well served.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you bring up some phenomenal points, and I love the way that you've really thought through the product, right? It's, you can tell that there's been a lot of thought behind it, and the iterations that you've gone through to kind of get where you are with that final product. You know, it's great to hear obviously about the Pasta Shop, what they're doing, but I did want to segue a little bit, you know, into some of the industry challenges, right? Because we're obviously a technology company over here at Invar, and we're always curious to kind of get the feel, right, direct from the source in terms of some of the challenges that you think in relationship to technology that you're seeing within, you know, the food manufacturing industry.
Well, I'm going to try and make sense of it at the risk of not fully answering your question, so pardon me.
That's fine.
we have health problems in our country, and we're all aware of it. But underlying it is the idea that we could take food that is good for you and put it in a new format that is even better for you. What's your backdrop? What are you innovating from a base of? There's tons and tons of goodness in traditional pasta. The Italians eat it every day. 2/3 of the population eats it every day. But they don't think there's a problem with carbs. and they don't have weight issues. And so what you have to really be thinking about is the way the American consumer is likely to change is based on what we know is wrong with what we've been eating. You can't take poor quality food and put sugar on it and not have people with problems with diabetes and other issues. And part of the shock that I think we're all going to go through is, you know, we're going to put better food on the table, but it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
And how we go about managing that is part of what we think about. I see pasta that is purportedly healthy going for really high prices, you know, over $10.
Yeah.
And that's tough to imagine a value for consumers over time. So we've had to think a lot about how to bring really great proteins and fibers into the equation and then do it in a sensible size so that you're able to do value to the equation. And by being not just a brand where someone else is making it and I'm putting a markup on their markup. We do it all internally so that we can bring it to our people for the best for the least.
Yeah.
That's the idea there. And so along that path, that's the economic piece that requires management. But from our perspective, if we have a choice between something that tastes better and is more expensive or tastes less good and is cheaper, we're going towards the more expensive because
As you should.
we want the brand to deliver reliably across recipes, across groups. And when I say groups, I mean underserved consumers, either in active fitness, carb management, or in gut health and fiber.
Definitely. Yeah, no. And I think you bring up a lot of great points, right? And obviously being the COO, right? Being the, you know, the operational side of things and driving the business forward and dealing with the day-to-day, you know, aspects of the business. What challenges come up in terms of operating the company, you know, from a day-to-day?
Well, you know, the COVID years have been super challenging for just, you know, how many moms do you have in your workforce that are scared for their kids and getting sick and, you know, comforting people. A lot of our people are from Central American countries and a lot of support had to go on just to get them through it all as a team. Um, in terms of supply chains, you've got you know, major issues that are here today that we've dealt with and sorted with, but that are coming tomorrow. 30% of worldwide wheat comes from the Ukraine and Russia. And that means you're dealing with a much more volatile commodity than we were 10 years ago. And so to me, I don't know how people do it if they're not close to it. I know who I'm buying my wheat from. They represent clear, distinct choices. We know how to bring it in and how to keep control of it. And I think we're going to find that there are new ways of thinking about food production that make their way into people's homes and find a spot. I tell our people all the time, listen, we're making people food for active lifestyles, but pasta has shrunk over the last generation. The way it gets better is you give people a solution for their health needs, and then you know you are vying for 1 week's worth of meals for lunch and for dinner. That's 14 meals we're trying to get a part of. Most people my age, if they eat pasta once a month or once a quarter, it's a lot. And
Yeah.
so what you want to do is solve problems that lead to frequency of purchase. And that's another hidden marketing failure in the pasta industry. It's not just about Americans are carb phobic. It's Americans are looking for solutions outside of traditional pasta, and that's the need to fix.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a great point. You know, what type of mindset is really needed to be a successful COO at a food company similar to yours?
Well, we can only speak for ourselves, but what we believe and what we know is we honor Italy. We honor by using their artisanal methods. We're just going to be only good at Americanizing them
I like
because
that.
we understand our population.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important to be able to take, right? To take from what's working, but then to put your own spin on it. I think that's really what innovation is, really what entrepreneurship is, right? And building a business is, seeing what works, because why change that, that method when you can obviously just take from it, but then put your own spin on it, right? I think it was, I forget which artist, it was either Michelangelo or one of the artists that says, essentially, he's a great artist steal, and like essentially you have to be able to look at what works and be able to put your own spin on it, and then that's what creates a good quality product.
Well, I don't know about the steal part, but borrow, yes.
Yes.
What the meaning of pasta has been in America, and to see it drop in total popularity. I mean, America, it had their favorite ethnic food in the 70s and 80s was Italian.
Yeah.
Now, Italian food is number 8, and it doesn't get the kind of mention that it should. We all know and love.
Who said it's number 8?
Yeah.
Number 8 to who?
Our friends at Google. But, these things are real. And what we hope we do is give people a reason for 3 or 4 meals a week and have them have that beautiful flexibility of sauces from different looks and feels based on how they want to enjoy the product that day. And, if you can give people half the calories and 72% less carbs and have the unremarkable feeling of that tasted like pasta. That's what a bell ringer is in today's world, in our opinion.
Definitely. I don't like to go, 5 to 10 years out, because I think it's a little bit hard to see that far away. But what does the next 12 months look like for the Pasta Shop? What's the vision for it?
Oh, it's all about in-market traction. It is about helping to spread the word of what we're doing and making it more and more accessible. We think we've got selling proof that it works great in Middle America. It works great at Whole Food stores and Amazon and Kroger. And now it's just about getting out there and telling the story to more grocers, so it's in more places, more finds.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm excited to see the growth, and that I already told you that you've won a customer and me.
That means the world to us, one at a time. That's all that matters.
But it's been a pleasure getting the chance to kind of talk with you, John, a little bit about what you guys are building and the vision and the passion. Right, I can definitely tell that this is not something that you're just doing just to do. This is something that's been rooted within you as a passion, and I can tell that from experience, when people have that passion and people have that willingness to grow the company, I always see it usually pan out for them. So I'm rooting here on the sidelines for it to continue to go national. But if you had to, I always like to end with a final question regarding, just some of the most important things that you've learned in your career that you'd be willing to share with the audience.
Well, number one is it all starts and ends with consumer satisfaction. That is it. And we're so grateful to be in a situation where we could be a small part of their solutions and bring some smiles and satisfaction. We all know this is a world where we're thinking about keeping our children close to us and how they're going to be able to do it. And one good meal at a time is our little contribution to that effort.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I love to hear that. John, if anyone's listening to this, maybe they want to try some of that pasta, right? They're hungry after listening to our talk. What's the best way to go ahead and order some? What's the website, and maybe if they want to contact you?
Yeah, you know what? The easiest thing is jump on Amazon, call up Postabilities, and look for our Better For You recipes. There's 3 different recipes, one for active lifestyle, high protein, one that's lower cal and lower carb. It's called lower cal. And then our fiber is the idea for better gut health leading to better mental health.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include the links in the description for that, for the Amazon products as well. And thank you again, John, for coming on and sharing your story. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you guys did make it all the way to the end, we just ask you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this content with your friends. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks again, John. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.